Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra 1, Unit 2.6 Notes, Day 2. Today we're going to be talking about graphing linear equations using slope-intercept form. Our learning target today is to be able to graph lines using slope-intercept form. Might be like, Mr. Grice, what is slope-intercept form? Well, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m equals your slope and b is your y-intercept. And remember, that's always written as a point, 0, comma, b. Okay? So, slope. B is your y-intercept, and that's going to be a point. Okay? So, we've talked about the two different ways that you can graph. Okay? Equations in slope-intercept form can be graphed in two different ways. One, you can use a table of values. Now, when we're doing the table of values, we got to remember that if we've got a fraction, that's what we have to count by. Okay? So we always have 0, and then we want to count by 3. So 3, 6, and then we go -3, -6. All right, so when you're doing that in your calculator, you can plug it all in at once. You would type in, we'd have a -1 divided by 3 times -6 plus 6. And that gives us a +8. Why don't you guys pause the video and see if you can do the rest of this all on your own, okay? Good luck. Okay, and there you go. Remember, if you don't get a straight line because this is a linear equation, you did something wrong, okay? And now the other thing that we talked about is just by using the slope-intercept, all right? We just talked about the slope, okay? Our slope is 5/2, which means that this is my rise. I go up 5, and I run 2. Our y-intercept is the number at the back, and that's just the point, 0, -8. Okay? So when we're doing something like this, b, the y-intercept, this is where we begin. So I begin at 0, -8, and this is our movement. So that means I go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2. Okay? And once you've got those 5 points, then you can make your graph, or make your line, I'm sorry. Up, and that line's already crooked. And I've got my ruler right next to me. There we go. There's our nice pretty line. Okay? So, let's move on. Equations that are not in slope-intercept form can also be graphed in two ways. Okay? So, we've talked about this before where we find the x and y intercepts. Okay, so when we do that, 2x minus 3, we plug in for the variables. We plug in for y and we plug in for x. That cancels. We get 2x equals -6. Divide both sides by 2. We get x equals -3, and just remember that that's the point, -3, 0. And then on the right side, we do the same thing. -3y equals -6. Divide by -3, divide by -3, and we're doing all of this work. A negative divided by negative is a positive, and we get the point 0, 2. Okay? So now when we graph that, I got -3, 0 and 0, positive 2. And once we're done with that, we would just graph our line. Okay, I'm going to make my dots just a little bit bigger so we can see them. Okay? Now that's a lot of work because you got to do the y-intercept, then you got to do the x-intercept, then you got to graph it. Whereas if we do what we were just doing, finding the slope and y-intercept, we have to put this into y equals mx plus b. All that means is we have to solve for y. How do I solve for y? Well, get the y by itself. We add 3x, we add 3x, we get negative 5y equals 3x plus 10. Okay. And then the very last thing to do would be divide by negative 5. And now we get that y equals negative 3 over 5x minus 2. And now that we've got that, I see that my slope is negative 3 over 5, and my y-intercept is 0, negative 2. And remember, we're getting that stuff because it's y equals mx plus b. Okay, negative 2, that's where the negative 2 comes from. Okay. So this is a negative, so this means it's my fall over run, and then the negative 2 is where we begin. Okay? Because once it's in y equals mx plus b, guys, it is so easy to graph. Okay? I start at negative 2. I go down 3 over 5, down 3 over 5. And then I go in the other direction, just staying with the pattern, and now just graph it. Okay? So I got to draw my line, get a ruler out so it's nice and straight. I was grading some of your homework, guys, and it was yucky. Okay? Always use your ruler. Okay? So, which method of graphing equations where x and y are not on the same side do you prefer? Okay? So, if they're not on the same side, do you prefer doing what we did over here, where we did the x-intercepts, or to the right, when we just solved and then graphed? What do you like better? Personally, I like this method better over here because it's easier for me to extend that line and draw it all the way to make sure I know that I got the right spot. Okay. Right away it tells you the slope. Right away it tells you the y-intercept. Okay. Now, the only problem is you need to do both. Okay. And you need to know how to do both. So what we're going to do right here is we're just going to write each equation into slope-intercept form. Identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay. So all we're going to be doing is solving for y. Okay? So let's start with the first one. Solve for y, we got to subtract 2x, subtract 2x. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, sorry about the delay. So we had to subtract 2x, and then we get y equals negative 2x minus 5. Now, it's the y-intercept, or is the x all by itself? The y all by itself? Blah, 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 blah. Come on, Mr. Geist, wake up. It is, okay? So then I know that that's my answer, all right? And our slope, well, our slope is negative 2, or you might want to write that negative 2 over 1. And then our y-intercept, the point is 0, negative 5. Remember right there, that's our y-intercept, and that is our slope. Okay? Let's do the next one together again. So we got to subtract the x and get it to the other side. Remember, we can only combine like terms. Don't forget about that negative in front of the y. All right, and now we need to divide by -1, and we get that y equals 4x plus 8. Okay, our slope is 4, and you can write that as 4 over 1, and then your y-intercept is 0, 8. All right, number 3. Let's do number 3. So we got to subtract the x to the other side, and we get -2y equals -x plus 4. Okay, we got to divide by -2, and we get y equals. Now, how many x's do we have up there? You have 1, so that's 1/2 x minus 2, because the two negatives turn that into a positive. Okay, so our slope is 1/2, and then our y-intercept is 0, -2. Okay, why don't you do number 4 all on your own? Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, and that's what you should have gotten. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move down. Now it says write each linear equation in slope-intercept form. Graph each equation using the slope and y-intercept. So now we're going to do exactly what we just did, but then we're going to graph it. Okay, so let's do one together. So we have to add the x to the other side, and we get -2y equals x plus 10. Now we need to divide by -2, and we get y equals -1/2 x minus 5. Okay, so right down here on number 5, I'm going to write that y equals -1/2 x minus 5. Now me, I like to know that my slope is -1/2. I kind of write these things on the side just so I remember, and that we start at -5. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these done. So I start at -5. That's where I begin. And then I follow the slope, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the entire length of the graph just to make sure that it's nice and straight. Okay, so nice and straight. Let's go ahead and draw that right now. There we go. And I have to add my arrows because it's a line. Okay. All right. Why don't you guys try number 6? Go ahead and solve for y, put it in slope-intercept form, and then draw the graph. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so number 6, you should have gotten y equals 9 over 2x minus 2. And then if you take a look, there's my line. Okay, slope is up 9 over 2. It's a positive slope, so I know that my line should be positive. And then we started at -8. All right, number 7, I'm going to just pause the video. I want you to do 7 and 8. I'm going to pause it so you'll see 7 and 8 as the answers, and then we'll go down to the graphs. Okay, so do both of those problems. Good luck. Okay, and there you go. Those are the answers for 7 and 8. If you did not get those correct, go ahead and change your answers. I'm going to pause the video again, and then you will see the graphs. Okay, and there are the two lines. Now, if you are still having trouble with this, you need assistance, please come find Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, that's it for Algebra 2, Unit 2.6 notes, Day 2. Thanks for watching.